The historic building, which previously served as an entrance to the former military school of Chapultepec, has become a double space that houses a site museum and a visitor center. So that the more than 19 million people who visit the forest every year have access to their historical memory, biological, and cultural wealth. The site museum shows the history of Chapultepec. It gathers 4 great moments of the life of the place: pre-Hispanic Chapultepec, colonial Chapultepec, Chapultepec of the 19th century, and Chapultepec of the 20th century. The Visitor Center has mechanisms designed to know what the interests of the public are, in order to offer useful alternatives to better plan the visit to Chapultepec based on their interests, tastes, and schedules. It is also responsible for disseminating recent forest events, which include both day-to-day activities and efforts to protect and rescue them. The more than 180 enclosures make this city the second city with more museums in the world. Looking for a museum? You are in the right place. We all know the Monumento a la Patria. You know, that huge marble pillar monument that says welcome to Chapultepec? But few know of this obelisk, the first monument to the cadets' memory, which was created in 1884 by the architect Ramón Rodríguez Arangoiti. The obelisk that is located in the first section of the Chapultepec forest was not erected as a monument to the so-called children heroes, but was a tribute to all those cadets of the military school who participated in the resistance before the American invasion in Mexico City on September 1847. It was built in the early 20th century with a French neoclassic style. For many years, it worked as the house of the ranger of Chapultepec. In 1985, an annex was built comprising an auditorium with an approximate quota of 100 people, a multi-purpose room where exhibitions, book presentations, conferences, and different shows are held, an outdoor patio where courses and free workshops of artistic training are offered, such as concerts, cinema, storytelling, among others. The historic monument Baños de Moctezuma was built in the 15th century by Netzahualcoyotl during the reign of Moctezuma and was used by Mexican Tlatoanis as a pleasure site for the breeding of exotic fish, as well as to store water from the springs of the hill. It is also thought that Moctezuma kept his treasures there, and for this reason, in 1744, excavations were carried out to locate them, which caused cracks in the containers and consequently the loss of the water it stored. They make reference to the space that Moctezuma and Netzahualcoyotl occupied in Chapultepec, the place where their palaces were and the paths they walked while they reflected on matters of the state or elaborated their poems, leaving engravings in the stone whose meaning we still do not know. It was part of the extensive pre-Hispanic hydraulic network built in Chapultepec since the time of Moctezuma I. In this place was the famous red flesh-colored chapulín found in the National Museum of Anthropology and History, where I will take you very soon. El Quijote en las Nubes. Located on the Paseo del Quijote, the Quijote's walkway, whose layout also shows the fountain and the Quijote's library, the sculpture that refers to the character of Cervantes' novel known as El Quijote en las Nubes is one of the many works of art that can be appreciated when you visit Chapultepec. Designed in bronze by the sculptor Humberto Peraza. It was placed on December 13th, 1989, and since then, it is a must-see for this city. A perfect place to relax and enjoy everything there is to enjoy. Nature, peace, and of course, a lot more. Fuente del Quijote. It consists of a fountain that is surrounded by 4 concrete benches, and in turn, these are decorated with colored tiles that are illustrative of some passages in the book. There are also 2 columns whose main ornaments would be the figures of Don Quixote and Sancho Panza, which were originally made by Miguel Alessio Robles in Spain. Formerly in the columns, books were placed, which could be used by the visitors. Hard to believe, but in 1974, the sculptures were stolen. They were replaced with sculptures by José María Fernández Urbina, who was responsible for placing the faces of Salvador Dalí and Diego Rivera in Don Quixote and Sancho Panza, respectively. The previous fountain used to be a small pool from which a stream of water sprouted. Today, a group of mermaids are seen playing musical instruments with an ornament on their heads. Unfortunately, nowadays this place is completely graded and, needless to say, abandoned. At the end of December 2015, the sculptures were stolen again, and a year later they were replaced. However, for the time being, the figures are not part of the columns. If you want to see what this beautiful monumental piece looked like, you can find files and photos from the 20s. They will surely surprise you. It is considered one of the monumental fountains of the forest, of pre-Columbian appearance that encloses a great symbolism of the most remote past. It has an area of 1,250 square meters in the form of a square whose center emerges the figure of Netzahualcoyotl carved in black stone from Chaltocan. Work of the sculptor Luis Ortiz Monasterio, inaugurated on September 15, 1956. In the bas-reliefs of the fountain, the artist presented 8 scenes from the life of the Texcoco Tlatoani, from his birth in 1402 until his death in 1473. The scenes are Birth of Netzahualcoyotl, Death of Ixtlilxochitl, Dream of Tezozomoc, Capture of Azcapotzalco, Constitution of the Triple Alliance, Introduction of water from Chapultepec to Tenochtitlan, Coronation of Netzahualpili, and Death of Netzahualcoyotl. was ordered to be built in Seville, Spain, by Miguel Alessio Robles in 1921, being Minister of Mexico in that country. It was originally placed at the main entrance of the forest, but was later relocated to the back of the zoo, at the crossroads of La Milla and Chivatito. It is an exact copy in proportions, construction system, and ceramic finish of the Fountain of the Frogs of the Maria Luisa Park in Seville, Spain. The fountain is covered with Sevillian tiles and is adorned with 8 green engraved porcelain frogs, which are located in its circumference. At the center of the fountain are a duck and a bronze turtle. Totems in Canadian culture represent and commemorate lineages, stories, villages, or events. This one specifically celebrates the relationship between Mexico and Canada. In 1960, the Canadian government commissioned the construction of the same to Mungo Martin, an artist descended from the Kwakwaka'wakw clan, as a gift to the Mexican people for the 150th anniversary of their independence. Carved on a red cedar log over 11 meters high, the idol has suffered considerable damage from being outdoors, so the Canadian Embassy decided to restore it in 2014. It is made up of a cedar man, a sea snake of 2 heads called Seasuitl, which represents the opposites of good and evil, and an otter, all crowned by the effigy of a thunderbird, symbol of the artist's tribe. Also known as the Lake House Juan José Arreola, originated during the Porfiriato. It has served in different ways over time. At some point, even the daughter of the then President Venustiano Carranza celebrated her 15th birthday in it. Currently, its function is more cultural. Workshops and courses are taught. The president in turn, Porfirio Diaz, ordered the construction of this enclosure in 1906 to be the headquarters of the Automobile Club that was inaugurated on April 30th, 1908. By José Yves Limantour. In 1910, a banquet was held in commemoration of the centenary of the independence. In 1911, President Francisco I. Madero determined that it would become the property of the nation, and it was officially named La Casa del Lago, House of the Lake. On September 15, 1959, it was inaugurated as a cultural center of UNAM, where cultural activities such as poesía en voz alta, out loud poetry, classical music classes, rock, bolero, flute, piano, Gregorian chants, Japanese drawing have been carried out. Diffusion of cultural values, workshops, conferences, movie theater, literature, reading cycles of works by Mexican poets, concerts, narrative, and essay workshops. An artist descended from the Kwakwaka'wakw. An artist descended from the Kwakwaka'wakw. An artist descended from the Kwakwaka'wakw. Wak, an artist descended from the Quack Quack Wak.